Hi, hello, and welcome back to a podcast where I talk about going from corporate drone to corporate dropout and everything in between when it comes to being a fitness creator and a gaming creator all in one. You know it, you love it. Welcome back to Chaos and Fuckery. Now, I am supposed to be giving y'all a little bit of a Kaizen challenge update, but honestly, I'm again recording a little bit ahead of schedule, and also on top of that, because I'm trying to stay on top of my shit, I have kind of decided to take the rest of June and just prep. I've already kind of fallen off the wagon with June, and there's some things going on in my personal life that will be over at the end of June, early July, that'll allow me to sit down, focus, and, have a good time being a creator again. Because I get really, really stressed as a creator when it comes to creating long form videos, at least, when I don't have a backlog. When I'm trying to record and edit a video all in the same week, I literally create slop. It is the worst videos on the planet, and that's also partially because I don't have an editor and things like that. But when it comes to Kaizen Challenge, I am still committing to doing daily tasks, like connecting with myself spiritually every day, doing certain daily chores around my house, and I am creating new habits. I'm just not necessarily creating a spiritual, physical, and a mental habit every day. And that's mostly because physical, I am focusing on like nutrition and staying within a certain range of calories. And then I'll add the movement back in once I have my backlog of videos ready to go and I'm not so chaotic. While this podcast will always be kind of on a weekly recording basis, the rest of my videos that do require a lot more editing need some time and help, right? I don't have any gaming content backlogged to officially launch my Fit-ish Gamer Plays channel with, and I don't have any videos for my actual fitness channel actually recorded and edited. And I like to do, like, this is where I do the off the cuff, talk to the camera, not so edited, not so educational. It's more just, opinions and thoughts on certain things going on in the world as from the perspective of a small business owner in these industries. Whereas, my fitness content, I want it to actually help people and resonate with people. And I want to make sure that I have good clips for each of the videos I'm putting out and not just fly by the seat of my pants. So I'm going to keep the good ideas I have in my content backlog right now and slowly build those videos with thumbnails and appropriate SEO and everything else to really do well with that content over the next few weeks so that I launch in a way again in July. So when it comes to my Kaizen challenge update, how am I doing? Well, I have not been so great at doing it daily. I'm kind of, taking the day before and like putting it out the night. It's a whole big mess, but my challenge book is right here. I did get back to it this week. I just have been filling it out a little bit differently than I was before, and I took a step away from filling out the digital ones that I was doing for my business coach just because I feel like I need to take it one step at a time as a business owner, and that's where today's topic actually comes in. I want to talk a little bit about creating non-metric related goals in business because those things are very extremely difficult for me to be able to do. I want to focus on metrics. How many clients do I have? What money, cash flow am I bringing in? When will I be monetized based on subscriber count? What am I making off of, TikTok shop sales? What am I making off of X, Y, and Z? What am I in my financial aspect? And that's really all I think about when it comes to my business. And while yes, those are very important key performance parameters, if you will, they are not the only performance parameters of a business. Just like in fitness, the scale is not the only indicator of success in your fitness journey and fat loss journey. Because while weight loss is a popular term, I as a fitness coach don't like to use it because weight implies scale went down, and when you're doing things like body recomposition, your scale might remain exactly the same, but your measurements and your pictures are going to look totally different. And that comes with different styles of training and how your body shapes up, and it's a whole big thing, right? So you would think if I could apply those principles to my own fitness journey as well as my client's fitness journey, I would be able to apply it to business, right? Right? Well, no. I am a horribly, terribly bad. And if you are a fellow small business owner who sets monthly, daily, weekly, quarterly targets, are your targets mostly financials? Or is that just a me problem? How do you set non-metric goals for a business? Because I feel like everything about business is a metric. What traffic you're getting on your website, how many new subscribers you're gaining every month, how many new followers you're gaining if you're on Twitch, and whatever. Whatever platform you're on, how is your audience growing, what content is performing well. Those are all metrics. And even something as simple as post every day, that is a metric. You did post every day and you have 7 posts for the week, or you didn't and you have maybe 5. And I understand how to do non-metric in fitness, right? We're talking about, maybe I fit into this new pair of pants, or, I'm thinking about clothes and clothes only right now. There are 500 other ways to do non-metric goals. Maybe you just want to feel better or sleep better, or, get off that medication that you're on if that's something that's actually doable via losing weight. Whatever it is, there are plenty of non-metric goals that are just feel good, spiritually type goals. And as a business owner, I can set spiritual goals for me as a human, but I struggle a lot as the business owner setting non-metric goals for my business. Because at the end of the day, everything I want to do with my business boils down to that one big financial metric. Right? If I want to buy a truck and trailer to start doing travel content, I need the cash flow into my business to do that. Yeah, it's a business asset when I buy it, but I still need the cash flow to buy it and pay for it. If I want to, fill my roster, I have to define the metrics of what that means and how many clients that means for my current situation and maybe future situations when I'm not working as a corporate drone full-time, because those are 2 different loads of clients. I can maybe handle 15 clients right now, but in the future I could handle 30 to 50. Those are just random numbers. But point being, when it comes to being a business owner, those non-metric goals don't come intuitively to me. And if you are a business owner and they do, how do you, do what I tell my fitness clients to do and celebrate the small wins along the way? Because I feel like, and this is part of the reason I tend to fall off the face of the planet and get really discouraged with what I'm doing, is if I have a video that flops, I struggle to look at that and say what exactly the problem is, because that's not always intuitive when it comes to platforms like YouTube. I can't figure out why I can't get this podcast more visibility. I don't know. I'm not changing how I do thumbnails from how I do them on other platforms. Must purely just be tags, because that's the only thing I understand. Or maybe it's the name of the podcast. Who knows? There's a lot of metrics that are important to being a content creator that aren't inherently intuitive to how to improve them, especially when a video, that follows a similar format that maybe someone else has done in the same category or a different category, or follows a format of a previously successful video. You followed the exact same format and yet it didn't work this time. And those are the things that confuse me to no end. And those are all still metric related goals. If I set a goal for a video that I want X amount of impressions and I want this CTR and I want to gain X amount of subscribers, I have no control over any of that, relatively. There's some work you can put on to have control over that, but for the most part, you don't have a ton of control over how the algorithm pushes your video out to everybody. And sure, I can set all those metrics, but what's the non-metric? What is the non-metric in business? And that is something I've struggled with from the very beginning. And then I tank any, happiness I have with the business when I'm not meeting the metric, because I really don't know how to define the non-metric. Because the non-metric in fitness, the little small wins along the way that aren't the big scale number or the big measurement numbers, are what keep you going. And, motivation's a lie, but they're what keep you moving and happy and seeing results in the first place. But I don't see that in building a business unless I'm hitting my metric goals. I also feel like goal setting in business is a lot more difficult to realistically set goals than goal setting in fitness. Realistic, you have enough statistics out there of, growth statistics when it comes to, not growth statistics, when it comes to, average weight loss, normal weight loss that doesn't indicate anything bad going on in the body, things like that. There's a lot of statistics. It's usually 1 to 2 pounds a week, and that would be a realistic goal to set. If you're heavier, you could probably do a little bit more in the beginning, but as you get smaller, it gets a lot harder to even do that. Cool. You can really stretch that amongst your goals and amongst your programs. But with business, I can stretch financial goals throughout the year. I can stretch client roster. I know in July, I might only be shooting for 1 or 2 clients versus, 3 months from now where I've been doing things consistently, I might shoot for 5 or 6 clients in that month. As we're heading into quarter 3, I'm going to have to replan all of the things that I thought I knew what I was doing, when clearly I don't. And when I say clearly I don't, I mean, I know the things that I need to do, but executing when you have a family, a job, outside of building your business, friends even sometimes can be nearly impossible. And the thing is I think I was doing too much. I don't think I know. I was doing too much all at once, which is the classic entrepreneur trap, unfortunately. And I didn't have enough. How am I evaluating this that have nothing to do with numbers outside of my control? How am I evaluating my success as a business owner, as a person? It goes alongside the episode from last week where we were talking about not productive enough. How am I evaluating my productivity? Did I do everything I was supposed to do and the numbers just not make it? And then I can evaluate, was my number unrealistic or is this just a bad month? I am struggling to evaluate my business because I don't know how to set goals that have nothing to do with numbers. And if you struggle with that, please feel free, if you figured it out, to drop something in the comments about that. Because for me right now, when I think non-metric goals for business, I'm thinking, I don't know. I can't even think of something off the top of my head. What is a non-metric goal for business? Because I'm thinking, post consistently. Well, that's still, what is consistently? That's still a metric because consistently would be defined by maybe 5 days a week or 2 posts 5 days a week instead of 1 post 7 days a week. I could, make a goal to start streaming again and put no metrics against the stream and just do it for fun and to create the content that I need to for my gaming YouTube. I suppose that's a non-metric. That's just, I did it. But it's not something that, I get to track over time. That's just press the button and go, And even there could be a metric that I add to June that is, complete X amount of videos so that when I get into July, I just continue that recording cycle and editing cycle for the next month, I don't really, that's still a metric, right, though, because I know how many videos I need to get out, how many shorts I need, and I can, plan that all out and batch record all of those things. Still metrics, right? I still have to do X amount of videos a day to get it all done. But I don't know how to be not an analytical person in a creative space, ironically enough, because being a creator is a creative thing. How do I evaluate my videos for metric-y things? How do I know this is a good video when it comes to editing them? There's a lot of non-metric things that I should be evaluating in my business that I just don't know how to evaluate. How do I evaluate my happiness with the business? How do I evaluate, it's all metrics. It doesn't feel like there are things that, as a solopreneur, if I wasn't running, I feel like non-metric comes in a lot more when you have teams, right? Team satisfaction surveys. How are you doing as a leader? That's not necessarily metric. That is, how you are interacting with your teams. But as a solopreneur, everything is about metrics. And as a creator, it's hard to think about numbers when you're trying to create a funny, silly video. When you're trying to create something crazy, right? It's hard to do what is necessary and create content you actually want to create. And I know a lot of big creators have talked about that for years. What works for the algorithm versus what you actually want to create. And there has to be some sort of blend there. But even if we take it away from online businesses for a second, I don't know that with my brick and mortar, other than, interactions with my team and staff and student happiness, parent happiness, like things like that with the brick and mortar business I want to. And, some could say reviews are non-metric for something like a bar. But they still are because they have the star ratings, right? If you get a 1 star, your metrics are poor. But they're not like cash flow every night, number of butts and seats metrics. So I think I just need to get out of my own head as a business owner. And if you've gone through this, a phase like this, like I said, feel free to share your wisdom in the comments. I would love to hear from other business owners who have gone through, struggling to find things that aren't just cash flow in and out or numbers of butts and seats. Because I also don't want to think of my clients as numbers, because they're not. My clients are not numbers to me. When I start filling my roster, they are people that I need to coach, and their happiness is important to me. So I suppose that is a non-metric thing. How I'm doing as a coach. But then they just certain pieces of coaching becomes to-do lists. And I don't want that to happen, but the busier I get, the more I realize I'm going to have to fight for that not to happen. And it's the same thing with, subscribers and followers on something like Twitch. When you're live streaming and you want to build a community, you want to connect with people. But how much time a day do I have to sit in other people's Twitch chats and actually be an active chatter? Because yes, I throw up Twitch chats all the time in the background, but I forget to be an active chatter all the time. And I think that's my biggest struggle right now coming back to Twitch. Is when I first started on Twitch, I was very active in a lot of people's chats. I would make sure that, but I also think I made the mistake of going too small with the chats that I was in. I was never active in any partner stream chats. And I need to get over my fear of these large creators and just start shooting my shot. And I think that's where some of my non-metric business ideas might come in. How many times can I force myself out of my comfort zone and shoot my shot? Because my spiritual goal is to reconnect more with my Wicca roots and tarot and things like that, because I got really into it and I've always been connected to it in some way. I know I've showed this deck before, and if you're interested in the deck, because it is a very pretty deck, it is in my TikTok shop showcase, but that's not important. It is a hand-drawn deck that is gorgeous and very me. And these are a part of my spiritual goal and, reconnecting with my intuition and reconnecting with myself. But those reconnections, while it makes me a better business owner, are not necessarily non-metric goals for the business itself. They're goals for me. And I guess as a solopreneur, you can merge the two. Goals for you as a person are also goals for your business, because the better you are as an individual, the better chance your business has as being successful. My business coach calls it like the 4 pillars, but one of those pillars is business. So when he talks about business, he talks about the metrics, but the rest is you running, you as a CEO, right? Personal, physical, yada, yada, yada. So I guess that is one way you can, as a small business owner, start to build in those non-metric wins, right? Being successful in consistency, starting new things in your business that you might want to launch, having, plans done. But I feel like that's still a metric, right? If I did my Q3 plan today and I got to check off one of my little June goal boxes, that would still be a metric, because I still had to go do all my content plans. But I guess it's also not. Daily connection, right? Some people make that a number. I need to connect in 5 different Discords today with different people. They've made connecting with people, even in the business space, a metric. And that felt inorganic to me, and I pushed a lot back. I understand the necessity for it now, because people aren't inherently just going to chat with you. You have to connect with them as well, but I don't want to make connection a to-do list. I have a tendency, and even my cards today, the day that I'm recording this, have told me that, a future obstacle that I need to be aware of in order to reach my success is the fact that I have a tendency to isolate. And that was a interesting reflection time and intuition time because yeah, I do have a tendency to isolate. And I think a lot of business owners do as well. They throw themselves so deeply in their business that they forget about everything else. And it's hard. You know, there have been times in my marriage where I've had to listen to my husband calling me out that I was doing too much and I wasn't spending enough time with him because I was so focused on recording podcasts, editing, being online in Twitch chats, and not spending time with him when I had it. And I'm thankful he called me out on that because I do need to find a better way to balance it. And that's, where those non-metric goals do come in. Non-metric goal is spending, every day that I can with him. The minute he gets home, this whole office shuts down. I don't care if I got up late and, still have to work my 9 to 5 a little bit. I'll make up those hours elsewhere. Because right now, time with him is of the utmost importance. And I'll never give that up again. I made that a stance when I first started with my business coach that I would not give up time with my husband to be successful in my business. And while I did make sure of that on the weekends, I was not great about it on the weekdays. And as I fell more into an isolation pattern when he traveled for his work, it became very difficult to reconnect with him at home because I didn't even realize that I had self-isolated and zoned out of conversation with other people. So while yes, our financials and our metric numbers of how many clients are coming in our door are important, those non-metrics are also important. And you have to set them for your teams if you do run teams, and you have to set them for yourself if you, like me, are a solopreneur. You have to do the connection with other people as a gaming content creator. You have to maybe collab as a YouTuber and connect with other people. There is and will be a time where metrics are more important, and there will be a time where just the vibe and you as an individual are more important. And it all ebbs and flows with business. But always remembering those non-metric, just like in fitness, it's important to remember the non-metric is important to your success as a business owner. And while I haven't seen, I've seen some success, but I haven't seen the level of success that I want to, and that's partially on me. There is a world where I will eventually see a point where I won't be so focused on metrics. And what is my business when, it runs itself essentially, and I don't have to focus and grind so hard for new clients and new content and everything else because I have a team underneath me. I'll have editors one day and I just have to create the content, and that's the fun part. But how do I set goals for myself at that point? And that is what I have to think about a little bit as a business owner. Obviously, there's other businesses that come with, this one being successful that I'm running now. But I want to be able to always be a coach and be a face of these businesses and not just someone in the background that put money into them. So at the end of the day, how do you set non-metric goals in business? Well, if I could tell you that, I probably wouldn't have this podcast, and I probably would be a lot more successful than I've been because I get discouraged by metrics and I don't know how to remember to look at the small wins along the way. Nothing is ever good enough for me, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs feel the same. So if you've been through this and you also understand what it's like to kind of feel lost in your goals for your business when it comes to things that aren't numbers, feel free to drop a comment below if you wish to, collaborate and tell your own story. I would love to have you on and, meet other small business owners that are along for the ride and struggle in today's day and age of being a small business owner. But for now, that was, not so much chaos, but a lot of mental fuckery, and I appreciate you for being here, and I hope you enjoy any future chaos.